What's up guys, Americana back here with another video. The market is already pricing in rate cuts from the Fed, and if you're waiting for them to actually make the cut, you're going to be behind. Let me show you why September's cut shouldn't be your buy signal, and it'll be a sell the news event. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, really cool tool here. If you don't know where to find this, you can just head over to cmegroup.com or type in, I believe it's like Fed Watch chart. It should be the first thing that pops up, but essentially it's what the market is pricing in at the current moment. As you can see, they're pricing in that we get a 0.25% basis cut at the September meeting. So why is that important? We've talked about in other videos. Please make sure you go watch that. The importance of when the Fed starts cutting after a pause like this, it actually typically marks cycle tops. Okay, I'm not saying, and I actually am not leaning towards this cut to be like a moment where that cut marks the exact cycle top. But we'll actually get an exit pump after that. Regardless, I think this alludes to the market being in the later stages, okay? With these rate cuts coming in the past, it marking tops or it marking an exit pump, I think this will play out similar. This cycle, especially if we get another cut in November, that really could be it by that point. But I want to specifically talk about this event and only this event in September and why I think this rate cut is going to be a sell the news event, okay? So again, little tool you can use here, CME Group, Fed rate cut watch, Fed watch chart, whatever you want to search to find it. Why this is important is, like I said, the market is pricing this in currently, okay? We've seen appreciation over the last week. We've seen things pump, right? There are other things that were alluding to the fact that we will get a pump and altcoins will do well and Ethereum will do well and stuff like that. But with, the market, we all have this information. Everybody in the market has access to the information. You shouldn't think that we're just going to wait around till September and then get a rate cut and then we'll pump. It's pricing it in now, guys. Okay. The market's pricing information as we get it. Okay. So it's already being priced in with the appreciation we've seen over the last week and probably what we'll continue to see leading up into this rate cut. All right. As you can see here, I have a little gray line for when the rate cut will come in. But what do I mean by sell the news event? Okay. So this happens a lot actually. Something will get announced, right? I'm going to show an example here. But for this example, it was an ETF, right? The Bitcoin ETF got announced, okay? And once it actually came out, right, people started selling off because it's the anticipation and the hype that leads up to the event that causes the price to appreciate. Once the event happens, it's already been priced in, okay? And then you're free to kind of be volatile, flush people out, late longs, things like that. Okay, so I'm expecting something relatively similar to that to happen at this Fed rate cut. All right, so let's look at the last time we had this happen, okay? So in here, this little candle here actually, we had a fake headline that Bitcoin ETFs were being approved or proposed by like BlackRock or something like that. Ended up being fake. Anyways, we got the real headline in here, and it was actually much further along than people had anticipated or priced in. By this point, it was relatively approved. The SEC was pushing it through. Everything looked good for the fact that we would get a Bitcoin ETF, okay? So what happened? Price ended up pushing up, okay? And it pushed up all the way. Okay, in here we knew the exact date that this ETF would launch. Pushed all the way up, all the way to this high here. The ETF launches, and we dip 20 to 25%, okay? So a similar event, sell the news event. This happens a lot with like Ethereum updates and things like that. People will get so hyped. Oh, the merge, the verge, the surge, whatever that Ethereum update is called for that time period. And price will appreciate into it. And then the update will drop and everything will sell off. Okay. You see this with like new token launches, all types of things. Okay. It doesn't mean that it's the top of a market or that it's going to top out from there. And that's not what I'm saying with this video. But I do want to point out what a kind of sell the news event would look like, right? We have anticipation, the product or news is finally released, and then we dump, right? And everybody who got in early is able to dump on everybody who got in late. So be looking out for something similar with this September meeting. The good thing about that is I expect us to appreciate into that meeting. I've been saying, you guys know how bullish I am on the market right now, especially altcoins. So it's actually a very nice setup. If you're already positioned, if you've been watching my videos, if you've taken it seriously, if you've already got into the market, you'll be fine. Don't even worry about it. And I don't think it's actually going to mark the top. I think we'll get some sort of exit pump, especially with what I'm seeing in the altcoin market. But just so you know, if we do dip 10, 15, 20%, okay, right after this cut or at the cut or something like that, don't worry. Don't get shaken out, right? It's expected. That's really it for this video, guys. I just wanted to hop on here, express my ideas about this rate cut. It's as good as going to happen, right? Everybody's pricing it in. You see the Fed watch chart that I showed you guys. You've seen me look at past times we had kind of similar sell the news events where everybody knew the exact date that this was going to happen, and that typically marks these style of events. So just wanted to get my thesis out there, my ideas of what I could see happening. Good news is probably pump leading up to that event, probably slight pullback. I don't think this exact one is going to mark the top. I think we get an exit pump after that. But everything's pointing towards we are at the end of the cycle. The good thing about that is this is when you make the most money. Okay, so be smart, make sure you're selling, make sure you're exiting. Okay, but also don't get shaken out early before that final exit pump. See you guys in the next one. Peace.